Hi, my name is Derek, and today we're going to be doing a very quick tutorial on some terminology of hardware that you as a client could help us as a technician by understanding um, and just being able to kind of pick out exactly what these things are when we mention them over the phone. So, a lot of the time we end up testing certain pieces of hardware when certain issues are presented. So, for instance, if the customer is experiencing network issues, one thing we may ask you to do is to unplug your device from the data port. And sometimes what I've experienced is a customer will return to that and say, well, I'm not quite sure what a data port is. So, what we have pictured here, obviously this will be in a wall. This is what a data port looks like. A lot of the time with tier 3, we have these labeled, um, and that might be with a D or a V. Um, Usually we will specify on the call which one that we are looking for. So you can tell kind of by the distinct shape here. And what we'll be looking at next is the cable that goes into that. So these are Ethernet cables. You can see that that kind of distinct shape matches up to what we saw in the data port there. And this is an Ethernet cable. So this is usually going to be plugged into your device, which will then also be plugged into a data port. This will give us a direct line of data connectivity, um, usually being internet. And this will be the cable that we will normally ask you to unplug from the data port in the wall. Sometimes they will be connected into a switch. And what a switch does is essentially it somewhat acts as a splitter. Um, so one data port, as you may notice, there's only one port. Sometimes we need to kind of stretch what that one port can actually reach in terms of numbers of devices. So in that case, we would usually put in a switch, which can turn that one port into five, as we see here. So if we ever ask to unplug from a switch, or if a switch is present, usually it's just going to be a small box, and um, the manufacturer might be different. It might not always be Cisco, but this is usually what it'll look like. It'll be kind of a small box with a number of data ports in it. Usually it ranges from 5 to 8 to 16 to 32 even sometimes. So that's kind of what we'll be looking for. Another common cable that we might ask you to look for regarding monitors or displays or things of that nature are HDMI cables. I'm sure many people know what these are. They're very, very prevalent across many different devices, probably in your homes as well. But just in case you aren't, these normally plug into the back of a monitor. Sometimes they'll go into a docking station if you are a laptop user, or they might plug into the back of your tower if you are a PC user. Another variation of display cables are DisplayPort cables. These, I would say, are more prominent if you are a laptop user and we have provided you with a docking station, as those docking stations come with two ports for these DisplayPort cables. So if you're not quite sure what the cable is, if we ask you to unplug a DisplayPort cable, you can kind of tell that it has this flat edge and then kind of comes down to this beveled edge over here. Very distinct looking. If you have a dock and you check your dock, you will probably immediately be able to recognize which port that this will plug into. And since we've been talking a lot about docks, docking stations usually are for laptop users. This allows us to extend the amount of ports that you guys have on your device. Um, and these can do a myriad of things. They can act as a charging device, they can act as a USB port extension. So we can get more USB ports for you. Um, this will allow us to hook up multiple monitors if you're wanting to use two with a laptop as well. Um, and as you can kind of see here on this little charging port, another cable that if you are a docking station user that you should likely be aware of is USB-C. So these are present on a lot of charging devices nowadays, um, phones even. If you own a modern Android phone, you'll likely notice that you have one of these as well. And these are also what we use on our docking stations as well. Um, these will be what connects directly into your laptop to kind of create that bridge between the dock and your laptop and allow it to kind of act as that extension. Um, and yeah, these have kind of been some very very common pieces of hardware and cabling that we often ask our customers to check for different reasons that they bring to us. And yeah, I hope this just kind of acts as a little bit of a knowledge base for you guys to look at and um, understand exactly what these pieces of hardware are and what they look like.